Hello. So, I've tried this a few times, and whether it's light or sound, I just haven't been happy with it, so here it is again. My top Beatles albums from 13 to number 1. Now, 13, I'm including Magical Mystery Tour, so if you're confused, that's why it's 13. It was included in this. As far as I'm concerned, that's good enough. And there's another reason why, which I will tell you about when we get to that stage. But let's start with lowly number 13. Let me point out at this stage that none of these albums are bad because it's the Beatles. So, but this is 13. No surprises. Yellow Submarine. Only 6 original Beatles songs, and 5 of those, and one of those was released before, so there's only 5 new original Beatles songs. And of those 5, though, you've got Hey Bulldog, which is fantastic, and the Beatles songs, they are great, but not the greatest, and because of the quantity. Hey Bulldog stands out. There's a video online on YouTube by Fab4 Archivist about the story of Hey Bulldog. It's amazing. I urge you to watch it, yeah. And the video itself for Hey Bulldog is on the Beatles Vivo channel. Now, while I'm promoting other channels, you should also check out Vinyl Rewind. There's a few guys who make that, but one guy who hosts it. Really fantastic, enjoyable, great stuff. And don't just do the Beatles, they do loads of stuff. But every video he does, is worth watching, and I recommend it to you. The set's brilliant, it's well produced, it's the opposite of what I'm doing. And yeah, while I'm on the subject, let me just promote my cousin's channels. Paul Stafford Cook. He's a guitarist who plays guitars, shows you guitars, amps, pedals, and apart from being one of the very nicest, greatest people you will ever meet if you're lucky enough, he happens to be an amazing guitarist as well. So I urge you to check out his channel. It's really enjoyable, and tell him I said hello, even though I probably will before that. So that's number 13, Yellow Submarine. Number 12, Please Please Me. Debut album, great, but there's 11 better in my opinion. Great for a debut album. I mean, if that's your debut album, you're like, it's not a bad thing. Thing is though, the first 5 albums all had cover songs, and that sort of detracts from the greatness, because the Beatles, as we knew later on, certainly didn't need to rely on covers, which is why I don't love this album, because there's just the vibe around it, the vibe at the time when the Beatles, the whole filming, the rehearsals, filming the sessions and all that stuff, it didn't really work out. Even Paul admitted that was a bit of an error, and culminated in the rooftop performance, which always reminds me of The Simpsons. I mean, I Me Mine by George Harrison is my favourite track on that album. I'd love to hear what your favourite tracks are on these albums, and where you would have these albums in your top list. I'm sure they differ from mine, and as you can see, I'm already holding up number 10. We're into the top 10 now with the Beatles. Second album, great sing-along album. Still, yeah, covers on this album. As far as covers go, this is probably my 3rd favourite Beatles album cover. Yoink. So, number 9. When I say covers before, I was cover songs. Covers, talking about the covers of the albums. I don't want to confuse anyone. I think you probably know what I'm talking about. Beatles for Sale is number 9. Paul said in an interview that they were starting to experiment at this stage, so that's why it ranks above with the Beatles for me. Yeah, some great songs on here. Really great songs on here. George Martin said his favourite song on this album was Mr. Moonlight. No, he didn't. He did not. You're a liar. I'll Follow the Sun, Paul song. They seemed to have a closer connection musically, because they did stuff together, George Martin and Paul McCartney, so I don't know. Maybe just to George's ear, just he preferred what Paul was doing. Plus, Paul also tended to hark back to bygone age with his music, which I love that. But it's not for everyone. Some people call it that his granny music, but for me, I love that stuff. Here we go, this is number 8. This is number 8, this is Help. Great album, not a great film. I'm wearing my Ring in order of Ringo. Um, didn't want to make a pun there, and I wish I hadn't. Anyway, never mind. This is number 7. Now, as far as I'm concerned, every track on this album is fantastic. You can sing along to every single track. It's enjoyable to listen to every track. And they were at the height of their Beatlemania period, Beatles, as far as I'm concerned. So that's my number 7, A Hard Day's Night. Number 6 is the controversial entry, The Magical Mystery Tour. Now, Capitol Records, not Parlophone, decided to release everything that the Beatles did in 1967, apart from Sgt. Pepper's, on this album. So Magical Mystery Tour stuff and everything else that was released, like Strawberry Fields was a single, Penny Lane B-side, All You Need Is Love was of course the famous worldwide broadcast track that they did. And when you look at the track listing of this, it's hard to argue with it as being a great album. And if it's on here, yeah, it's in my list. I do consider it a Beatles album. Now, top 5. This is tough. This is really tough because my choices can change from day to day, week to week, sometimes hour to hour. So at the moment, even though this has in the past been my number 1, my number 5 is the Beatles' Abbey Road. Now, the cover is probably my second or first favourite album cover by the Beatles. Let me try something. It's been a while, so forgive me. I'm going to click this microphone. In another video I'll probably play this solo. It's a great solo to play, really amazing solo to play, but it might not work as well without the chords in the background. Anyway, thanks for allowing me to do that. Abbey Road, number 5. What an album. Yeah, I'm going to talk about it as an album on its own in one video because it deserves a whole video for itself, as does this, and I already have done a video about this one. This is number 4, The White Album, well, the Beatles, aka The White Album. I did a video last week, 50th anniversary 7-disc edition with the book, and soon I'm going to be doing a review of the album's songs once I've finished reviewing all the sessions and demos and stuff like that. If you can, maybe you can see this, yeah? My Mellotron arrived today, and I can't contain my happiness. It's just unbelievable. And yes, if you hit this note here on one of the settings, you get the intro to Bungalow Bill, and the Mellotron is also used in the rest of Bungalow Bill verses, and of course it's famously used in the intro to Strawberry Fields. The flute from the Mellotron is used. Anywho, this 2 solo albums and a George EP doesn't detract from the fact that it's an incredible album with such incredible songs. It's a shame that they were falling apart. It's a shame that John decided to have Yoko in the studio when they had a policy that wouldn't be the case, and well, what are you going to do? It had to come to an end. But they did still have fun in the studio. If you listen to the sessions, they're amazing. This is the 30th anniversary edition. Oh my goodness, I can't believe. Getting old. Yeah, what was I going to say? Yeah, I'm going to be reviewing this album track by track, but also I'm going to be doing a video on what if it was just one single disc, like a 16-track disc, because you could have 16 tracks on an album back then. It was feasible. And so I'm going to be saying, right, what if it were just 16 tracks? What would those be? Which 14 would you dump? And if it's one album, would it change position in my top 13? Who knows? We'll see. Even I don't know yet. It's a surprise. Number 3. Now, for a lot of people, this is number 1 or 2, maybe 4. But for me, at this point, not this week, today, it's number 3. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. It's very much a Paul album, I find, and the John tracks are amazing. I love Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite. I'm going to be reviewing the 50th anniversary of this as well, but I'm going to have to go through all the sessions and stuff and just, make sure I know exactly what I'm talking about. I do a lot of research. I like to do the relevant research if I'm going to be making these videos for you guys to watch. Instead of giving you spurious information and pointless opinions, I'm going to be giving you some facts and make sure they're all correct. The last two albums on this list, you know what they are, obviously, if you're a Beatles fan. And some people, I can just feel the hate coming towards me when I put up my number two, because I've seen a lot of people choose this as their number one. And I'll tell you why it's not my number one when I get to number one. Revolver is number two. Track for track, compared to Rubber Soul, it certainly stands up to Rubber Soul and possibly beats it sometimes, depending on what mood I'm in. But for two reasons, it's number two. And for two reasons, this is number one. As I said, track for track, compared to Revolver, it's very difficult to separate them. You can see in this cover, which by the way is probably my favourite Beatles album cover. It's a great album cover, and that's one of the reasons why it beats Revolver. You can see that they've been up to something. No good for some people. The other reason is very personal, a relationship, and this had a big part to play, enjoying this together, having a laugh, singing this together, just great memories. And that does impact on people's choices of what you remember music to be like, whether you were a kid or whether it was a certain time in your life. So that is it. That's my top 13 Beatles albums. Thank you so much for watching. I'd love to see the comments and what you think should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, and what your favourite tracks on these albums are. I'm going to be uploading many more videos about the Beatles and other music as well. So join me, subscribe and follow, and see what I'm up to. I'll be playing this a lot in my videos, this Mellotron. I do have other pages, a music page for my own music and stuff like that, but I'll link all of that stuff in various videos so you can find it all. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you very soon.